Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review the action horror Game of Assassins. In hell, only your sins can save you.
Directed by Matt Eskandari, starring Warren Kole and Bai Ling, Game of Assassins is about a group of individuals that wake up in a gauntlet, and they have no memory of how they got there, and now they must solve a series of puzzles to make their way through. So what did we like?
I enjoyed the setting of the film. The whole set design, each room, each location was really cool. Like they had like a water level, they had like a rock level, like they had all these different sets, and it did have that dungeon feel to it.
Yeah, it felt like we were playing Zelda for a bit. I did like that we could tell which room we were in. Everything looked grungy and it looked old, and like the stones looked wet and they looked like stones. It looked really good.
I really enjoyed the production value of this film. When we first turned on the DVD, the special effects that were there with like the flames coming up, I was expecting a lot of cheesy effects, but there actually was none of that. It felt like a really high quality film. The lighting was great, the gore was pretty cool, like it looked realistic. To go along with the set design, it made it feel like it was high budget, so I enjoyed that about it.
The overall effects and makeup that they had were really well done and really well delivered, especially when they were showing like blood and having to have the blood drip into like the tiles.
People get punctured and they start bleeding and stuff. Looks pretty dope.
Since a lot of these scenes were shot in really tight places, I really enjoyed that. The way it was shot, I knew what was happening and like where we were supposed to be looking, and so I wasn't confused much throughout this film.
It helped that they broke it into different rooms.
Yeah, that helped a lot too. Yeah.
It's like, okay, once you get into another room, let's shut the door. Now this is your world. I thought the acting was pretty decent all around. I think the standout though was Jin, played by Dustin Nguyen, who actually seemed like the most realistic of the lot. He had the most depth, I think. He made some decisions in the movie that emotionally scarred him. Well, everyone else didn't seem to give a shit if they threw anyone else under the bus, so I really liked his character.
He was probably one of the more useful characters in this film, other than David's character, played by Warren Kole. The two of them together could solve this maze, and in fact did solve this whole labyrinth. Everyone else was pretty much either like dead weight, literally, to hold open the next door, or just like a sacrificial piece, or like a key.
I really enjoyed the biblical ties that each room had, and it kind of made each room distinct and had its own story. So they kind of described like, oh, there's gonna be 4 of these levels. So it kind of gave us something to look forward to, and it really enhanced the story, gave it a lot more depth.
Even the whole story and the plot development that happened in this film was kind of a unique twist on like the torture genre, because a lot of the times when we see this, for people to atone for sins, we see the sins, it's more them dealing with the atonement. But in this film, they were focusing more on the religious aspect of it, and it was kind of cool how the story was based around Bible passages. It made sense, which was nice.
Because of the nature of this film, we're not going to say our favorite kills, we're just going to go straight on to our dislikes.
My biggest dislike was how easy everything was to solve. Between Jin and David being a mastermind in puzzle solving and knew everything about everything biblical.
710-7. It's the number of the dragon. The devil.
And then Jin was an architect, so they could figure out everything the moment they stepped into a room.
Every 10th stone is wider and larger. The early stoneworkers had different crews for the ceiling and the floor. And in order to solve the debate, they decided to mirror the ceiling to the floor.
In the first room, there was some debate. Then after that, it seemed like there was only one way to solve each room. Not even like other possibilities that are like fake. Oh, there's like a button over there. Let's just press that.
I feel the most ridiculous piece was creating the circular dam. Like beavers are watching this right now being like, damn.
I'm not certain I'll keep that last line in there.
Damn. There was a lot of character development throughout this film. Like, there was a lot of backstories, and we kind of got a lot of filled in. But I didn't feel like there was a lot of chemistry between the characters. And like even near the end, Tyler was like, I can't like kill you guys. Like you guys are like my friends.
I met you an hour ago when we were building a dam. Toast, if that's the only way I can live.
Yeah, I feel a lot of their decisions were made rash. When Kim was like laying down on the button, but he's like, oh, I better pull this lever. At least warn her like, hey, this cage is gonna come falling down on you. Roll out of the way when I say go. When you look at this cover art, it looks like a ninja assassin movie, but it's not that at all.
A guy has a ninja Ninja sword, doesn't use it ever. That's what the cover's based off.
Yeah.
It looks like Prince of Persia.
I also found the pacing of this film to be almost like a slow burn.
There wasn't a climax, and that's why.
Normally we got a nice little like triangular peak. This is just like a flat line. Like it really
Until the
is.
very end, where they gave the movie CPR.
It was symbolism for the whole idea of the end with the heart's beating pulse, a flat line throughout, beep, and only one pulse could survive.
Oh my god. I thought that was really obvious at the end when we realized that they have to kill each other and only one can survive. They just like linger away from each other and slowly one by one kill each other. Like, I wanted like a massive brawl, but yeah.
I really didn't like the ending. I think the big finale was terrible. So after everything happens, and I'm gonna spoil this for you, David ends up going into the last room with Emma, which he wasn't supposed to bring her, by the way. He killed her and then resurrected her.
He cheated it.
He game genied this game of Assassins. He goes into the next room and it's just like some cult led by his dad saying, "This is what you were raised to do." His dad left him when he was 8 years old, gave him up for adoption. That was it. There was no connection between David and his father. It didn't matter at this point. Like, whatever feelings David would have had for his father are long diminished. I don't know what his dad was thinking. I want you to become the killer and you'll start killing for us in our cult, or whatever the fuck he was talking about.
And like, they didn't really describe well what the cult was. Like, I was expecting, judging by the cover, this cult to be like crazy ninja assassins.
Ninja assassin cult.
But they're just like in their cloaks, and there's more of those like skull and dagger things where they're hanging around and do weird eyes shut things. No, it was like
Is that banging each other?
maybe.
Steve, it's your week to bring the cracker.
Who knows what these little guys do?
Lemonparty.com.
The climactic battle between David and the robed people was terrible. He knocked one guy out, and then he brutally punched his father, and then left.
No one even put up a fight. If this was all for David, we already know that Kim had already played this game once. Why did they have a game before this that David wasn't involved in?
Maybe it was like all those members like had sons or daughters.
It's David's turn.
Yeah.
Shit, we have to rearrange this entire gauntlet so it's more biblical so he gets it. Or this could be a twofer for Jin. If he wins, you'll be head of the table. Just make sure you run over here.
I thought the final scene was going to be a David and Goliath story. Like there was going to be some like crazy CG giant where he has to fight him.
I would have liked to see a big sucker punch moment with the guy with the big fucking chain gun. That would have been sweet. David just runs up. I am the assassin you wanted me to be, father.
Now it's time for final thoughts and ratings.
This movie was fairly average. The characters were your run-of-the-mill characters. The production value was pretty solid. The gore and makeup and set design were all top-notch, but the story was basically non-existent. There were too many loose ends, or the ones that they did tie up sucked. And the characters knew how to solve all the puzzles in this puzzle movie. The point of a good puzzle movie is to let the audience try and figure out for a second, not just solve it immediately without us knowing. So I'm gonna give this 2.5 fake out kisses out of 5.
This movie had a lot going for it with its really high production value and its amazing set design. I was expecting a lot from this, but as the story unfolded, we didn't really get that much chemistry between characters. This movie relied on a lot of that chemistry, especially with the various flashbacks we got, and we got to know the characters more in depth. It was missing something. It could have been a lot better if the story was more like thought through, I think. So with that being said, I'm going to give this movie 1.5 locker room showdowns out of 5.
Game of Assassins didn't have the flair that I was hoping for. It fell flat for this genre, and it fell flat as a movie overall. There wasn't a strong story arc to it. The characters were mediocre. For this kind of movie, you need that excitement. You need the suspense. You need to have like maybe a few characters get killed off early in the film or in the middle of the film who we care about. But this movie just let everyone go to the very end and then kill them off. So it sucked. So that being said, I'm going to give this movie 1.5 creepy guys licking windows of a yoga class out of 5.
As always, thanks for watching. Like this video and comment below with your favorite torture, puzzle, horror movie. And don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.